Hello, everyone, and welcome to Performance Anxiety's 47th online reading event, live and in person with a record number of listeners tonight. We're really excited to have so many people with us live on the Skype call. My name is Tom Snarski, and I'm so thrilled and thankful to be here with you, welcoming this sort of mid-spring, late spring, getting close to summer for this evening's reading. In case you haven't listened in before, Performance Anxiety is an online reading series of mostly poetry, but not always, hosted via Skype, usually on the third Thursday of every month at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. At each of our events, we feature a group of invited readers to share a selection of their work with us. Having slots for readers every month means we're always looking for folks who'd be interested in reading. So if you are or know a poet or writer who'd be interested in sharing their work at a future event, please get in touch with us. We love to have readers come to us by word of mouth. And in fact, tonight I wanted to shout out John Compton, who is not here with us, but who recommended and got us in touch with a couple of our readers who's been a superstar in that regard. So be a Performance Anxiety word of mouth hero by sending us a DM on Performance Anxiety's Twitter, which is Performance ANXT on Twitter, or you can DM us, the co-organizers, directly. I'm at Tom Snarsky on Twitter and Instagram, TOMSNARSKY. Basil is going to spell it really slow at the end. Or you can email me at tomsnarsky@gmail.com, or the logistics email, if you got a link today, it was from poetrybooksontape@gmail.com. You can also get in touch with Kristin Garth, who is Performance Anxiety's other co-organizer and founder. And I'm also very excited to introduce Kristin in her capacity as our first reader of the evening. So without further ado, Kristin Garth is a Pushcart Rissling-nominated sonneteer and a Best of the Net 2020 finalist. She's the author of a short story collection, Daddy, coming this fall from Anxiety Press, and many, many, many more books besides. Kristin, thank you as always for being with us tonight. I'm excited to hear what you're going to share. Take it away.
Thank you. This story I'm going to read is from my short story book, Daddy, that's coming out this fall, and it's a kind of chorus collection about daddy issues in many different ways, and so they're all dark, and this one is as well, so I apologize in advance. It's called The Plan. Meet your father in a movie. At 7, beg mother again to tell you something about him, this absence in your life. Is he dead? Is something wrong with him? She sighs, then answers, oh, something is very wrong with him. The first information you ever glean brings relief. He's not dead, your worst fear. That only lasts a minute, and then this new bleak information takes hold. Is he ill? Is he in danger? Is he in jail? Dark possibilities, some you are probably too young to understand, flood your little girl brain until they burst out of your tear ducts with a sputter of words. Tell me what it is. I have to know. Mother bends down to wipe your tears and pull you into her arms, hold you tight. I knew this day was coming, told myself I would tell you before you ever found it out from someone else. Don't know how your grandmother has kept it in this long. Suppose it's time. Walks you hand in hand from the bright white kitchen into the darker living room and sits you in the gray velvet on the gray velvet sofa, heads towards the shelves where the DVDs live, and turns her back to you and says, "Would you like to see him?" Thinking it's some sort of a home movie, she's hidden in plain sight in a movie case, you nod your eager consent. Let many questions rest in your head, perched atop your knees, eyes wide. Even as Mom fast forwards, you can see this is an actual Hollywood movie, old-fashioned costumes and a place from another time. When she stops it and allows it to play, the actors speak in accents. You're confused, but then your mom is pointing at a breathtaking man with a familiar face, and she is saying, "There, that is your father." The movie continues to play, but she drops to her knees in front of you to explain. Listen to her story as you peer over her shoulder to catch glimpses of a face whose angles and eyes reflect back to you every morning in the mirror. Never think of yourself as beautiful until this moment when you see the full bloom of your fledgling features. Your mother was a model. She's telling you a thing you already know. In the big city for a time, in her youth. Don't resemble her, though, and so you never think of yourself as someone who could do this special thing your mother has done, that your grandparents boast of inside the sprawling Gothic revival in the sleepy downtown of your small southern town. It was before you, before she met Brett, your stepfather. Your father was acting in a very important big movie, and we met each other one night in that city when we were both alone working and loved each other for a small time, only just a few nights before your father. You see, he had another family he had left behind to work. By the time I found out you had happened, your father was long gone, back to his other life, one he was afraid we would ruin. So he paid for you, still pays for you. But he said he could never have contact with either of us again. The face on the screen peers back as mother speaks these terrible words. Can't bear to face him in this moment, knowing he would never meet your eyes this way on purpose. A year passes before this shame weakens, and a curiosity replaces it, growing each time you Google him or find another of his films to obsess on for a while. The one about the detective, the one about the robot, the one about the playboy, the one about the single father, the one where he's a horny restaurateur, the one where he dies, the one for which he gets nominated for an Oscar. Read that he dropped out of school to be an actor, so when your own modeling career takes off at 15, is it any wonder that it does, the progeny of a model and a romantic leading actor? You convince your mother to let you do virtual school and travel for work. When she resists, you remind her, this body is all you have of your father. Can't use his name or cachet like a Nepo baby. Though, like him, you use your middle name as your stage name, May, in front of your grandmother's maiden name, Bird. Just his height and his bone structure and his haunting eyes, and you need to do it while you can. Don't tell her why. The plan. Know you will be successful as a model not only because of your genetic blessings, but because the plan requires it. Don't have to be the face of a cosmetics line or a fashion house. Just have to be successful enough to travel, to get yourself to where he is filming and allow fate to take its course. Perhaps he will have changed in his old age, and it won't happen. He is 50. The plan might fail. All your research on your father is from interviews, his own, and more telling, those of a plethora of failed relationships with actresses, TMZ, viewing every movie, series he's ever made, memorizing his upcoming locations from IMDb. The plan is cynical and hard, perhaps an inherited trait from him. Your mother is sunshiny and soft as the place you live. Or maybe you absorbed this darkness from such an early and obsessive exposure to his sordid film oeuvre. Friends in your small town recognize a change in you, a dark longing. By the time you have left you leave this place for good in your late teens, you have little healthy small town associations to miss there. By 19, your career, fueled on the plan, has exceeded your expectations. Maybe not the face of a fashion house, you are one of a few favored faces. A key older gay designer keeps you flitting between big cities for him, though you never manage to land in a city in which your father is filming.
Kristin, can you hear us okay? It might be frozen for just a quick second. So let's see if we can resolve that real quick. Now that is a really good writerly move, is to create the tension of mid-freeze, you are invested, we want to know what happens next. And so hopefully we will in just one moment. Let's see. Tension building. I'm just going to let Kristin know that we're running into some slight technical difficulties, but hopefully she'll be back with us momentarily. And during this brief interlude, if you'd like to join in with the folks in the chat who are saying hi, hello, we also have these lovely heart reacts and other things. I should also use this time to mention Performance Anxiety has a special penchant for when folks share new work, new drafts, new things that are sort of just coming forward for them in their practice, which we somewhat pejoratively call new shit. So if you are a reader and you're thinking about reading some new shit, or if you want to shut that out in the chat when it does arrive, we'll be happy to have it happen. So we're going to see if we can get Kristin back in just another minute or so. Yeah, awesome. So Kate will be joining us with some new stuff momentarily in a little bit. That's extraordinarily exciting news. As you can imagine, we've had many discussions in our lovely performance anxiety planning meetings about, do we keep using Skype? And the answer is it's free, but it is also full of problems. And Basil, tech man that he is not usually capable of fixing them by himself. Let's see. I'll let him look at it real quick, see if he gets anywhere. All right, I'm just going to try Kristin one more time, and then if, let's see. Thank you all a million times over for your patience as we try to get this sorted. Okay.
Hello?
Hey, Kristin, can you hear us?
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Hey, sorry about all that.
I I switched out because my computer, I think, froze up. And so I'm trying to put this iPad up here.
Okay. No worries. I'll let you get right back to it. Let me know if you need anything
I don't
else.
even know.
But thanks for rejoining.
I honestly
thanks
don't
everybody.
know where I froze up because I guess I don't know how long. I don't even know where to start.
I know the last quote I shouted out in the chat was, "As soft as the place you live." So if you want to pick back up there, that might be.
I have to switch to my phone because I had to use my iPad where I was reading from to answer this call. Okay, just a second.
No worries. I was shouting out how this is a brilliant narrative tension building device. You know, we're on the edge of our seats for the next step. Basil's waiting, and I'll mute so you can tell us what it is.
Let's see. Oh, here we go. Your mother is as sunshiny and soft as the place you live, or maybe you absorb this darkness from such an early and obsessive exposure to his sordid film oeuvre. Friends in your small town recognize a change in you, a dark longing. By the time you leave this place for good, you in your late teens, you have little healthy small town associations to miss there. By 19, your career, fueled on the plan, has exceeded your expectations. Maybe not the face of a fashion house, you are one of a few favored faces. A key older gay designer keeps you flitting between big cities for him, though you never manage to land in the city in which your father is filming. The plan is never far from your mind, though. Every one way you walk, you see his face at the inn. It's in Paris during Fashion Week when the designer says the most important words you hear since your mother's as you sat on her gray velvet sofa. Blake Blue was staring at you, darling. Hearing his name makes your whole body tingle. Daddy was here, in the show, watching you, staring. Hadn't even known. How could you not have felt it? Of course, he never felt you staring at him hopelessly through a screen all those years. Occurs to you, this is better than the plan. You two are now even. But this thought passes. It's never been about getting even. It's about meeting him, eye to fucking eye, whether he wants it or not, and you haven't accomplished that yet. So you turn to the designer and pout. You're kidding. I didn't even see it. I've always wanted to meet him too. Sweaty from the lights of the runway, in teased pigtails and a tutu, the designer blots at your brow with his monogrammed handkerchief. He returns to his pocket, then pulls your gaze to his by your dimpled chin. Oh, baby doll, that can always be arranged. You are in Paris. Any wish in a pretty head can come true here. He leaves you, and your stomach flutters with what you want to think is nerves, but feels much more sinister. Barely make it to the packed bathroom and into the one free stall before the small contents of your stomach empty themselves into a toilet bowl. Hope that the cacophony of this place has drowned out the sick noises. But as you walk out, models are smirking, and you know not only have they heard, but they think they know you now, one of those who have to harm themselves to look like this. You wish, you think, just have good genes, the best, you have no idea. It reminds you of the plan, all the time you have prepared, and here you are, sweaty and sick, on the precipice of it happening. Race to your makeup table to grab a toothbrush, your makeup bag, and your most Daisy Fuller, the bombshell actress, girlfriend Daddy cheated on with his son's school teacher, dress, a long sleeve, fitted mini of patchwork silk flowers and lace. In the bathroom, wash away all the sickness and the doubt and rosy-eared cheeks. Slide into a bouquet you imagine will make him feel. Exiting the bathroom, you hear the designer calling your name. Scurry towards him. Come to the place where all wishes are granted. Follow him to the waiting car and hurry off into the Parisian night. All the way to the restaurant, the designer chats with the loud group in the car, but winks at you knowingly as the car stops at a covered awning and your palms sweat. Inside, beautiful people float in and out, and the crowd swells with sequins and a mist of expensive scents, human and animal. Everywhere you look, though, your eyes are disappointed. The designer is engulfed with hangers on, and you don't dare make yourself a pest again. Desperate and forgettable in this magical career you have accidentally built for yourself, wander towards the bar and the comfort of some champagne to try to forget that this is all you are. As soon as you take a sip, a voice whispers in your ear, a voice you have memorized but never heard in person until now. Mesmerizer. The voice makes you start, and your nervousness amuses him. His laugh makes his blue-green eyes change color as they twinkle. Something stunning about him film has never captured. If you are a mesmerizer, you get it from him. This is the part of the plan where he sees that, where he recognizes himself in your angles and your charms, and he pulls you in for a hug like an actual father. Proud you have found him, all on your own, without his aid. Sorry, so sorry for the choice to never acknowledge you before this moment, but so grateful for this moment when he can change. Instead, while people around you at the bar watch while pretending not to watch, he strokes your cheekbone, his fingers so wide, his hands much bigger than you imagined, and yet so soft and practiced. It makes you blush, a burn you feel all the way to the bone, the mirror of his own. He smiles at making you uncomfortable, and his fingers stray towards your pink painted pout and traces it too. Let's get away from all these people and into the moonlight, yes? And before you can speak, his head is moving forward, as you have seen in countless movies, heading towards a kiss. You stop it with your own hand pushed into his chest, flush against a beating heart you've never felt before. Smiles at you coyly, the same lewd smile you remember in the one about the failed writer. The smile makes you angry. Always knew it would be the promise of flesh that would entice him, your famously sex-addicted father, but never considered once he got you up close he wouldn't recognize himself in you the way you saw his visage in yours so plainly as a child. Haven't scripted a cute line for this moment. Haven't considered how it would feel to be so wanted, but in the wrong way. What escapes your mouth next is neither pretty nor prepared. Are you trying to fuck me, Daddy? Say it with anger and disbelief, but you're not an actor, and whether the delivery is wrong or he is so far gone on his martinis you will never know. Just remember the way he quietly says yes, and the noise of the stranger on the right dropping his drink, splashing your bare legs as you tiptoe over the shards and olives to walk away. Thanks.
Over the shards, over the olives, and over the, Skype being Skype. That was Kristin Garth. Thank you so much, Kristin, for leading us off tonight. Kristin, you can find on Twitter at Lola and Jolie, LOLAANDJOLIE, and on Instagram at Kristin Ingrid Garth, KristinIngridGarth. Kristin's always got stuff in the works, so you can keep in touch with her on her website, which is KristinGarth.com, and you can follow her new Substack, which is called Woman Childishness, all one word. So keep an eye out for Kristin on those many, many platforms, and feel free to get in touch with her if you'd like to read with us. Yeah, awesome. So excitingly, moving into our second reader of the evening, I'm very, very thrilled to welcome Cynthia Atkins, who's the author of 3 collections, most recently Still Life with God from St. Julian Press in 2020. Cynthia's poems have appeared in numerous journals, including Alaska Quarterly Review, American Letters and Commentary, Bomb, Del Sol, Florida Review, Green Mountains Review, Harper Pallet, The Journal, North American Review, Seneca Review, Tampa Review, Valparaiso Review, and Verse Daily, among others. Cynthia, thanks so much for being with us. You may have to unmute in order to read, but you are good to go. We're so excited to hear what you're going to share with us.
Tom, thank you so much for organizing. As somebody who's organized reading series for a while, I know how much detail it involves, and it's appreciated because you're like a gatekeeper to get their words out in the ethers. So I'm sorry you had some technical stuff, but I appreciate the stress that you probably deal with doing this. So thank you all for coming tonight. I'm going to read a couple new poems as you invited us to read some new work. So this seems to be my newest poem. And it's inspired by the title is Tapestry, with an epigraph: a tapestry to feel and see, impossible to hold. Carole King. Tapestry. Who knew when I sat cross-legged on the floor, eating a bowl of cottage cheese and resting the album jacket in the V of my legs, that her words could last lifetimes, weft into the fabric for all these years? Who knew that bowl of cottage cheese would land just now under my arms to jiggle just so unapologetically? I cut my thumb opening the cellophane. I didn't even know I was flowering. Her voice stitched my loneliness with fretted chords. Those nights I wrote letters to unrequited love over and over until pitch perfect. Sentences perched like birds on a wire. My blue jeans were trophies of peace signs and Rolling Stone lips, cross-stitched with death wishes and an eating disorder. Living in skin I wanted to jump from. Who knew my veins would turn into estuaries? Taut girlhood body, now crinkly as a brown paper bag. The album blurs from all I can't explain, hold onto. No spare parts in this suitcase of a body, memories left on the girlhood floor. My arms too weak and sore to pick them up. One of the subjects I write about, in addition to all the other myriad things, love, death, sex, and rock and roll, is mental health. And since it is Mental Health Awareness Month, I thought I'd read a couple of poems that are trying to deal, I guess, with a new paradigm of mental health. That, let's say, because you're bipolar, it's not a bad thing. Maybe it's a good thing, and a way that you use it as a gift, and makes you, I think, more sensitive and more aware of things, and maybe more creative. This is called Dear Happiness. Call it my manic season, but I've come to understand that I'm at my happiest when I'm multitasking. Yep, clean up on aisle 3. I'm at the ready. I'm hanging curtains to the moon. I'm baking bread and dripping candle wax on old bottles of a new self, juggling my flaws like colorful little balls. I'm tending to the minuscule matters, looking for the multifaceted crime. This is how I sweat to purge the body demons. I'm having a lurid tea party with all my imaginary friends. Shh, this is a small town. I crossed spotted cows off my list. I held the smell of my father's leather coat, his essence. I played hopscotch like it was the only thing that mattered in the world. I am finding joy in sadness. Is that okay? I am disbanding all my brand names and codes so that I can grow this extra arm, this extra flabby arm. Call me the goddess of multitasking. I can climb down every rabbit hole. I'm holding the sun like a disco ball in the bipolar ballroom of despair. I can color out of the lines, break the laws. I can step over every impediment. Let the mirror images of an inner self reflect my little girl, warrior, savior, survivor, do-over, grinning from ear to ear. This is called Dressing Rooms. I apologize for not doing the chat thing. I'm new to the Skype thing, and if I touch a button, I'm afraid I'm going to lose you all. So I'm sorry if I haven't chatted there. I'll chat with you here. This is called Dressing Rooms. Last night I swallowed the moon, which I mistook for a pill, my daily regimen to look for the salve. I put up a good front, get away with it, because America has a short attention span. Mowed the lawn, saw sunrise. Each new moment, we come back with fresh stories. I have debts with the dead, buyer's remorse with the living. This afternoon in the over-decorated Holiday Mall, I stole a sweater in the dressing room. I stepped over guilt like pebbles in a river, looking for the tagged woolen weave to cure my bereavement. When emptiness is a vast blue bowl. In the next room, behind a curtain, I heard a woman sobbing. I leaned my hip into the wall to listen to something like rain on the soffits. My mind undressing its own ghosts in a mirrored space of scarves and scars. Her moan wailed like an injured animal in the road. It hit and bumped against the backdrop of the packaged emo piped in rock and roll. In the glass, the growing lines on my face resemble paint cracking on a window sash. The heartbreak I heard in this woman's dirge was my own. I planned the steal, measured my purse for its girth. I wanted to be new again, to feel dangerous. No rest. A mother still must get up and make the pancakes, even if she dreamed of hanging herself in the shower only moments ago. Her crying stopped. A gurgling ping of a cash register rang out in the world. I spied on us both, our nakedness together. Stuffing my bag with the sweater, I became the whole inner scream and silent yowl of yarn. I think of us both in a ballroom, dancing like new blossoms in the wind. I'm going to end with this last poem called Crickets, and I hope it's a little happier, more joyful. I realize I've been dark tonight. And I like to, when I say mental health, I like to use that term rather than mental illness, which is a term I hate because it's really sexy and gets your attention, but it's us and them. Mental health is all of us, you know? So I'm going to end with an Ars Poetica. I have a little obsession with crickets myself. I think of them as kind of a muse. This is Crickets, about writing a poem and everything else. Crickets. In all these days and years, the only thing I've learned is that a poem needs an engine. Not a newscaster with ski slope hair, but colorful sweaters from old dead ants. penumbra of dust motes, crumpled Kleenex, the frayed edges of gossip. A poem is about all the things that happen in the meantime while you were airing the pillows, driving a carpool. All you missed, staring right at what the future knows that it won't tell you. There is a radio dial. We can go and listen to all of us breathing together, rubbing our chasm of souls in an all-night diner. A poem needs magic, a bell, a hammer, a noise inside a noise. Never the same thing twice. Only the pathos that comes over a crowd, the sound of night eavesdropping on the day. Listen to the glyphs the branches make on a moonlit night. It tenders no apologies for bad haircuts. It will howl with all your stray dogs in the alleyways of cigarette butts. A poem needs an engine, not to be sedated as arts and crafts. The glue made with water and flour. No, it needs the wheels to spin in the dirt where someone is kissing for the first time. It needs a wine glass to be stomped on at a wedding, even if it ends in divorce. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Cynthia, for those poems and for being with us tonight. That, again, was Cynthia Atkins, who you can find on the socials at C. Atkins Poet, CATKINSPOET. And you can check out Cynthia's books and many publications on our website, which is cynthiaatkins.com, CYNTHIAATKINS.com. Awesome. This is beautiful. Basil is just getting back into it. He's very excited too. And with that, I'm very thrilled to be introducing our next reader, the last in our first half of the reading order, in Gregory Glenn. Gregory Glenn is a writer and artist based in Massachusetts. He is beloved editor supreme at Unpopular Writer, unpopularwriter.com. Thank you, Greg, for being with us today. I'm really excited to hear your poems. Take it away.
Thank you so much. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
I guess, yeah, you can't answer. Okay. Everything Tom said is true. My name is Gregory. I am a writer from Massachusetts. And I'm going to start off with a couple of older poems that have been published. And this first one is called Calliope. It was recently published in Molecule, which is a journal that publishes work that is 50 words or less. So this will be short. Unfortunately, the only short piece I read. So if you like short poems, I hope you like this one. And if you don't like long poems, I'm very sorry. It is called Calliope. Walking with Ape in the woods, I say, sunset looks beautiful. Air smells clean. Stream sounds musical, incredible. She points to a fox lying there, looks back at me. It's dead, I say. Ha ha ha, God damn it. Wow, she says. You really come up with a word for everything. So this next one was published in Drunk Monkeys magazine based around LA. A couple days ago was the anniversary of Jim Henson's death. He died May 16, 33 years ago. For those of you who may not know, Jim Henson's the guy who created the Muppets, and the Muppets are the colorful characters you might remember from commercials for Lipton Tea, Uber Eats, and the 2017 Chrysler Pacifica. This is a poem called Big Bird Singing at His Father's Funeral. I don't know how to be like Big Bird singing when he sang at Jim Henson's funeral. How to hide the obvious human inside of something very much more obvious. How do I suspend your disbelief that I am there, that I'm here? How would my ability to misunderstand help you to understand? How could my childishness be put to some use? I don't know if I know how to teach or to entertain. I don't know if my green but growing handle on letters, colors, numbers, and time could be put to some use. I really don't. Please, don't lose your patience with me. Try to let me act it out. Let me close my eyes and make up a prayer, even if I'm just feeling sorry for myself a little bit. Even if it's only crib talk, the kind of talk we talk with God, secret, alone, and in the dark. Grown-ups pass outside the room, speaking softly as they do, trying not to wake us as they go. I don't know. Whatever is sad, let it be sad. Whatever you think you have, think that. Sometimes it's hard to feel like you have something. Sometimes everything feels sad. Sometimes it feels like you're a great big yellow thing, and you have to do something you need to do, but not want to be seen. And you wonder, maybe you hope they don't see you here singing. Yet you wonder if he can't hear you down here singing there like that. These next two poems are new shit. If you don't like them very much, if you could do me a favor and like clap and thumbs up and heart. So it's like, yeah, I'd love it if you fix this. Yay, fix this. I don't like it. Good, good, fix it. That would help me out a lot. And if you do like it, heart react to be like, oh yeah, I love it. Don't change a thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This next poem features a kitchen island. And I saw a headline recently that said, is this the end of the kitchen island? Good riddance. And it made me think about how they're saying now that by 2027, the Earth is going to pass its key 1.5 degrees Celsius climate tipping point. And this is a poem about apples. It's called The Apples. My great-great-granddaughter has the giggles again. She runs into the kitchen. It's the same house I grew up in, with the same bar stools pulled up to the kitchen island. She is just able to hop into one and rest her elbows on the granite, her chin in her hands. I am putting the dishes away, pretending not to notice her until she calls me Grampy. She wants me to tell her the story about apples again. Her eyes are wild and open. Well, I say, I always say, well, the same way whenever I start telling her the story. And this gets her up out of her seat, laughing before I even start. And I say, well, again, when I was your age, yes, yes, she asks. I say, when I was your age, we used to have to wash our apples in the sink. Why did you have to wash the apples, Grampy? She asks. She is laughing so hard, she's barely able to say it. We had to wash the pesticides off, and the word pesticide sends her into hysterics. She repeats it, emphasizing pest, or saying it like pesticides. She tells me to tell her what they looked like, and I said they were big and fat. Some were green, some were red. Okay, Grampy, she says, fully wound up. Now tell me how they tasted. This is her favorite part. I say. I look off behind her as if I can't remember. But for a minute, it does feel like I'd forgotten. And I want to say, God, they were so good. They were so sweet. I almost say, if you got a good one, a single bite felt like a glass of cold apple juice. And I remember one time by accident, I told her about apple juice. It just kind of slipped out, but she laughed so hard, you should have seen it. The taste, I say, and I wince. I make the same face every time I make when I tell her how they tasted. Like it pains me to say it. It's this terrible face. They tasted like old shrimp, right, Grampy? She cries out. I make pretend like I'm about to throw up. I run over to the wastebasket like it's going to be too late. She almost falls out of her stool laughing, and then I shoo her off so I can finish whatever it is I'm doing. I watch her go play in the backyard. There used to be a couple of apple trees back there. I remember one time around her age, I ate one and had the worst diarrhea of my life. I don't know why I haven't told her that story yet. She's young enough that it would be a blockbuster. Diarrhea. I think I just feel guilty that I've told her so much bad stuff about apples. See, there was this one time she overheard her great-great-grandmother and I talking about apples. She heard us crying. We were making a list for the week, and we both said apples. We'd both been so happy we'd just forgotten. And when she asked us, "What's an apple?" I just kind of froze. She'd never know the difference anyway. I just don't want her to know how good things were, how good apples were, how apples were like the squirrels of the fruit world. But then how would I explain to her what a squirrel was? Was it like a gun with ears, a car with a tail, but smaller? This is my last poem. This is the newest shit. If you met someone from the future and asked them how it was, they wouldn't even be able to tell you if it stunk yet or not. Does everyone here know what Subway is? It's a popular counter service restaurant known for its sandwiches. It advertises itself as a healthy option for fast food, and they feature athletes in their commercials. They used to feature pedophiles, just one, but I think we can all agree, sports fans or not, that athletes are a far better choice. This next poem features a Subway, but it's about so much more. It's called Evergreen. And before I read it, thank you, Tom, and everybody for being here and for having me and for listening. I'm really, really grateful for this. So thank you. Evergreen. I was walking back from the library this morning. I'm not too proud to tell you that I stopped at that Subway on Merrimack Street. It wasn't part of the plan, it just happened. When I passed it, I saw a guy inside, and he was getting a sandwich, of course, and this was all happening around 9:30 in the morning. I thought, that's funny. I forgot Subway serves breakfast, but they don't actually. They've just got these egg patties that they heat up, and they stick them in a regular sandwich. Even calling them egg feels like I'm punching it up a bit, but the only other word I can think of to describe them is circle. And that's if I'm being very fair. Fair to Subway, unfair to Circles, who provide us with so much. By the way, have you ever seen where these eggs all come from? Jesus Christ. And then you have to remember that we're the only things on the planet with some sort of vision for world peace, and the only ones who tell you that that's impossible. But that's beside the point. What I'm trying to say is it was enough that they were open, that they will make me, a regular sandwich at breakfast time. And it doesn't even have to have the egg discs in it. So I went in and I got a very large sandwich for breakfast, just a regular old sandwich, like I said. I got every kind of vegetable on it, even the cucumbers. Normally I skip those, but today, why the hell not? It's gorgeous out. Living in the United States, we are at war currently, and we will continue to have more and more wars all the way down the line until I die. And I want to know how they all end, at least the ones in my lifetime. So I have to take very good care of myself. That's why I got the cucumbers on my Subway sandwich. And you know what else? It's the first day of May. God damn, my favorite month. And the girl who made my sandwich, she was really nice too. We exchanged pleases and thank yous and your welcomes cheerfully. I wish I was more like her. She is, I think, my favorite thing about Subway now. We were like old friends playing sandwich shop, but this time it was for real. And then I leave and I have my book and I have my sandwich, and now I'm walking even faster than before. I'm hungry and I want to get home and eat this thing. And as I'm moving along, I pass this house that has two signs out on the front lawn, both saying bounce house, tent rental, party rental. Man, I think that's pretty good. The meter, the assonance, the repetition, bounce house, tent rental, party rental. A poet wrote that. I know they had to have. Even if they don't think of themselves as a poet, oh, of course they don't think of themselves that way. Sly dog, so humble, a rock holding fast in a stream, the water rolling mindlessly around over them, eternal, everlasting. You can tell from the craftsmanship This is the kind of poem that will never age, not until long after our civilization is gone, taking with it its bounce houses and tents, the words wiped clean off the pages, the books lost or burned, and no more lips left behind to speak them. Boy, I wish I had a job like that, but I'm just not that good. I will never be that good. But it is gorgeous out, the 1st of May. I said that already, but it bears repeating. I'll repeat it all my life. And anyway, tomorrow's the anniversary of my father's death. Which year doesn't matter because the feeling is evergreen, like a poem I read once. Bounce house, tent rental, party rental. The sandwich was just an afterthought until I got home and I ate it, and it was great. It was all I could think about until I wrote this for you. And you want to know something else? I'll think about that forever. I'll think about all of this forever. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gregory, for that, those, and everything. That was Gregory Glenn bringing down the bounce house of the soul, being with us tonight. And if you want to read more of Greg's work, which I'm sure you do after that, you can find Greg on Twitter and Instagram at hi_this is Greggy, hi_THISISGREGGI. And also check out the anthology 9x5 or 9x5 from Only Human Press, because Greg's in it, as well as some other wonderful stuff. And you can find Greg on unpopularwriter.com/Greggy, Greggi, for bio stuff and publications and some of the poems that Greg read. And also, I forgot until Greg said that May is his favorite month, because I was like, why is May your favorite month? And I was like, oh yeah, it's Greg's birthday also. So please join me in wishing a happy birthday to Greg, and thank you for being here. What a great way to get to the middle of our reading order. Thank you so much, Greg. That was wonderful. Yeah, not enough good things to say. And yes, the chat is blowing up with happy birthday wishes, as it should. I'm so glad it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy
And thank
birthday,
you for
everyone. Sorry,
happy
I missed it.
birthday to the world and to poetry, who is always 1 year old. So we are looking forward now to getting into the back half of our reading order, and I couldn't be happier to start it off with Kelliane Parker, who I'm excited to introduce next. Kelliane Parker is a queer Latinx poet and author of Down the Foggy Streets of My Mind from Nomadic Press. She's a regular feature at readings and in numerous anthologies. Kelliane, thank you so much for being here with us. I'm excited to hear what you're going to read. Take it away.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here, and I've been savoring every moment so far. So thank you to the other readers. I'm going to read both a little old and a little new. I'm going to start out with a poem from my book, Down the Foggy Streets of My Mind. And my chapbook is about going back to mental health. About my journey living with dissociative identity disorder, or DID. This is called Instructions to Insulate from Moonlight. Wear malachite, drink hawthorn berries, prepare for the next cycle in the infinite loop, and remember to breathe as the sun starts to fade and paints clouds from below while anxiety grows into a flower named dread. Snapping photos to steal light, which I hide in my pocket to later conjure safety. But land eludes me, and I begin pacing in a rhythm. This is the dance of my youth. This is the dance of my culture. And my feet lift off the ground. And so I float and spin with no handhold in sight, no means to make it stop, until I'm swept up in the current. And then the images come, first like flash hypersensory to dissensory fog that tastes of bile and rot. And it slowly slows the nauseating spinning, rapid flipping, familiar state of dissociation. A familiar task that evade me like opening doors. And so I wait before them until memory returns. And after running from this burning building of a body, avoiding mirrors to evade the reflection of the wild-eyed animal eyeshine, of the familiar and the totem, and then nothing. Then the nothing, familiar nothing, weighty blanket of nothing. And I return Time lost, but grateful. I've survived another until the next full moon. And so this next piece is a new work in progress. Um, it was a rough prompt from a little bit ago stuck in my phone that I fleshed out today. And it's called Pattern of Van Nuys Airport. He always got that faraway look, propelled by propeller sounds. Hard to stay tethered under the pattern of the Van Nuys Airport. Stopping mid-sentence, wondering where he went. The world stood still with each passing plane, their constant passage taunting the 405 and the 118, competing for titles of the busiest in the world. Did I ever tell you the story of the dust cropper teaching you to fly somewhere near Sacramento? You were always flying something, another story of adventure, logging here, motorcycle there, more there than here at times. Unlike the dust cropper, the hero never dies in this story. You you left the field long before danger dropped. Where adventures turn risky, but the protagonist in this story winks at the camera and walks into the sunset. And this next piece is less than an hour old. So it's called Celluloid Static. There are different types of light, different types of hunger, matching footprints to sun shadow, matching shadows to keyholes and secret doors. A lock of chains, a lock of curls. You can't call eviction escape. The sun torches my face and owns nothing. Free spirit, freeloader, and no one is free. Hyperventilation has stolen more than my fair share of air. I hold my breath. It's the only thing that I can keep in these empty pocket times. And all right. This is called, this is new-ish. It's called The Girl with Rocks and Feathers in Her Pocket. And shells, a tiny pine cone, forged seeds, not to own or consume, but to bring magic back to unsafe spaces. The dandelion was always an incantation, a divine conduit for children in unsafe spaces where frogs don't become princes and are much better at being frogs, indifferent to pretty little girls. As certain kids wish to slip underwater like tadpoles when land behind doors becomes again too treacherous. And then my last piece um, is on a more hopeful note. This is an old piece called Solitude. I find comfort in solitude. It's misunderstood and often taken for loneliness, but it's not the same. Loneliness is a vacant crater. Solitude is different. Quiet conversation with yourself. Being alone but not feeling alone. Comfortable quiet. Where the outspoken word is unwelcome and would shatter the calm stillness. Quiet as its own language, one understood only by the speaker listener as one and the same, one's own true first language. I speak it well and do not pass it on to others. The part of me that's not shared, spoken here in the code of poetry, seen, not felt by others as they would see their green and not mine. Practice your language, for therein lies all answers, answers true and just, as if given to you by some higher power. And perhaps it is. quiet conversations with you and your God. Some call it conscience, others inner self. Call it what you like. I have my own name, and I keep it to myself. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kelliane, for those beautiful, beautiful pieces of work. That was Kelliane Parker, who you can find on the socials at Kelliane Parker, Kalliane Parker, and Kelliane Parker Poetry on Facebook, which is also Kellyane's website, KellianeParkerPoetry.com. The chapbook Down the Foggy Streets of My Mind from Nomadic Press, and it was out from Nomadic Press. And then also Kelliane is a contributor to Light on the Walls of Life, a tribute to Lawrence Ferlinghetti that you can find on Small Press Distribution. Fabulous. All right, and now I'm really excited. There's always a little bit of bittersweetness getting to our last couple of readers of the evening, but I am thrilled to introduce our next reader, our penultimate reader, Kate, who is a mostly prose writer from Newton, Mass., not too far from where I grew up in Braintree. She lives in Pittsburgh and is a poetry newbie. In 2020, she started reading more poetry and fell in love with the genre. She just finished her first poetry class at Carlow University's Mad Women in the Attic writing program and had her first poem published this year. So congratulations, Kate, and thank you so much for being here with us. I'm excited to hear your work.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks to everybody who's read and everybody who's here listening. This is a very long thing that I've been really grappling with for a while. And it kind of addresses, the main theme is intergenerational trauma. So more mental health stuff, yay! And it's very, I'm just gonna read it. Okay, it's called Riptide Reel. 1. Cary Grant, your mother. Cary Grant in his PJs and a bathrobe, eating a sandwich and drinking a glass of whole milk in his kitchen, saying, "You'll never be a first-class human being or a first-class woman until you've learned to have some regard for human frailty." What a guy. Unlike some men I knew, whose faces float by me in the shower. A quick soap jab knocks their beards backwards, but they're always there when I'm driven to cleanse and redeem. On a North Carolina beach in the 80s, you were smashed by a wave in your mother's arms. Both of you turned underwater, spinning like rags in a quick wash cycle. When you came out of it, she was crying. You might have been too, but children will do that. If you'd been lucky enough to have a daughter, you'd understand your mother's tears, but as she was the reason you were too scared to try, your womb is ice, not ocean. Your mother was an ocean. Your mother was an Irish rose with a side of whiskey. Your mother was a ham sandwich at 3 a.m., pressed and toasted. Your greedy mouth scorched so often, you forgot what taste was. You can hunger for pressed truth and still be scared of it. You can want pretending and honesty at the same time. You can look in the mirror through your affirmations and still see her staring back at you. You can't even cry or rage or grieve right, because now you're watching yourself from the outside and imagining Glenn Close crying and grieving her friend Alex, who was played by Kevin Costner, only the bit of him they didn't cut was his corpse in the coffin while the Stones played and all the headlights of the cars switched on. You know you're a fraud because you're always imagining yourself as someone else. 2. The constant argument that a certain flavor of McDonald's milkshake is best. You never tried the Shamrock, ew. And remembering your best friend's text to you after telling you she was pregnant, a Shamrock shake screenshot, and time to get fat underneath. This from a girl who weighed the same as you, but you never looked as good as. How ashamed you were of that. How ashamed you were when you lived with your best friend's mom, when you were too sad to live at home and they asked you to leave. The blonde who was not your mother and the father who never had courage. How the shame of being the different family never left you. But back to the Shamrock. You're a purist. You're a pacifist. There's Kevin again, but he's alive throughout this movie, the one about dreams. You're a movie snob. You're Coach Seating. You trudge your makeshift woman's bones to the back of life and sink into a seat of ordinary. Pretend it's comfortable. You resume the work of trying to make sinner and saint living inside the house of your spirit shake on it. Peace be with you. And also with you. Kinda. As a child, your favorite thing in your grandmother's house was a set of old books softened with duct tape binding about a clever girl named Polly, and everyone used slang. Aces and a little bit of all right when things were good. Rotten luck when they weren't. Packs when they got into a scuffle they realized they couldn't win. Scuffles in your house growing up meant dodging thrown plates and puppies and escaping into a word on the page as it was when you first saw it. Pax, she cried out. Polly was clever and practical, and everyone loved her. Your mother was crazy, and you studied how to be like Polly. Polly laughed a lot and always did the right thing. A basketball captain, a horse driver, keeper of a cool head she often shook silly thoughts out of. Polly gave herself a little shake. Your mother's silly thoughts banded with violent insurgents, forming an army stronger than any expert or best friend or crying kid or heartbroken husband. There'd be rioting and shrieking and the sound of sirens, and then it would be over and the streets would fall silent. You'd tiptoe up and down, skirting past your boarded up heart, trying not to inhale the smog of penitence hung thick. That's it, folks. Party's over, the policeman would say, waving you back to your rooms. 4 tiny, broken-hearted guests straggling home in the early morning. Nightgown hems, spilled milk, sighs, notes on a xylophone. When she'd finally been sent away after years of bloodshed, you looked around for the others, but each had fled to her own safe island. The fatherly policeman kept unsteady packs, learned how to cook, packed your lunch. He too would be gone soon, making a moonshiny island of you. But we haven't gotten to that part of the movie yet. When she left, the tension wire wrapped around her body gave way. Fear flowed from shoulders to shins, past the kneecaps, those things that belonged on the low cushions you just Googled the name of in your grandmother's church on Morningside Avenue. They're called hassocks. That you always rested your feet on because you knew even at 12 that no one, and especially not your grandmother, deserved any kind of reverence. Blessed be the Christians who put love into practice. Blessed be those who love the nutjob sister back to health. Screw the rest. Your mother's family, for example. Zombies wearing Christian masks. You do realize this means you're part zombie. The test of true Christianity is simple and smooth, like porcelain. Finishing a cup of tea at your grandmother's house, you saw through tiny green clovers a constellation of hairline cracks when you gulped that last sugar sip. And get this, they're called crazing. You prefer kintsugi slivers running through sturdy ceramic pieces, putting the pain right out there so it glows. You can always tell a false Christian by the way they respond to need. You hate them. You are them. You are her. You are you. Zombies flood the churches. Sinners are saints are sinners. There's no reason for anything. And now she's been gone, and it's time for depression, dementia, divorce. If that was a Jeopardy question, you know how to answer. What is divorce, Alex? But it's real and here, and you are cursed and split. Half of you a hypocrite zombie, the other half a sliver of her, your ocean, your kintsugi. The timelines are matching up and you are livid with the world because the work of your life has brought you right back to her again and always and forever. Amen. In this place of no reason, her horrifying legacy holds you by the shoulders, and nothing not your birth or her death has set you free from its grip. A dance, a reel, a riptide you cannot shout or fight your way out of. In the sea of her and you, There is no shoreline. In the film, mother and daughter on a loop. In the dance, we only do step 8. Keep circling round and shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. And when you sat in the drizzle on your front steps last year, hoping for a miracle of the Lieutenant Dan variety, you said you were a movie snob. Were you lying? You waited for the deluge to cry so people driving by would think you just had a face full of rain. You waited for a sign and saw through the window of the house across the way those white capital letters against that royal blue, the puzzled, searching face of one contestant. And you knew your mom and grandmother were close by, always so mean about the cringe moments following that first commercial break. Not all of us can be smart and funny. Your grandmother was neither, an uptight Catholic bitch, made of prayers and withholdings and appearances, sitting safe and warm in her kitchen, denial draped over her shoulders like the ugliest cassock, chatting with your aunt while her daughter, smarter and funnier than 9 of her put together, died upstairs in a pool of urine and boozy sweat. Lieutenant Dan had a ship where he could act out his redemption, but you were only ever a passenger on board someone else's. You never have a place to scream. You need to roar, but can't, partly because you're scared of jails and institutions, partly because you're scared of yourself. You last roared with your best friend in the Ithaca Hills when you were 20 and wise, before you turned 40 and realized you knew nothing, before you realized that there is no quota on what life can take from you, that mortgages and marriages make no difference, that in the end and in the moment, only you can carry your life. Will you scramble or float? You can float with the current until it weakens, but you only know how to fight. That's how you came into this world, fighting and shouting, because what should have been an arrival was an escape. You'd fled her from the start. Verdant womb turned wasteland, triggering an exodus neither of you were expected to survive. It's true you made the journey, got here in one piece, so exhausted from your pre-world life that no amount of rest could ready you for this one. As a child, you often wished you could sleep forever. The first one to come inside on a snow day, the first one in from the dock in the summer, face planting into plates of spaghetti or peas. You'd wish to crawl under a sea of blankets, go back from whence you came like the tide. A normal one with measured ins and outs, like how everyone else breathed. In 4, hold 4, out 4, hold 4. Box breathing works different than drinking. To flow in and out is the way, but against is all you know. Fights break out everywhere, the shower, the kitchen, the crosswalk, your head. Fuck you, Cary Grant, so perfect. But the book says we have ceased fighting anything or anyone. And so maybe just for today, surrender, release. The fiddles stop, the lights come up in the darkened dance hall. The rote horror of the 150 BPM whirl stills, and you emerge into silence. It's over. You take the steps up and away from the water's edge. You curl up in a blanket of sun, closing your eyes. Water salts your skin. The strong sand holds you.
Wow, Kate, thank you for that amazing piece and for doing such a beautiful job of letting it unroll and unfurl in here. That was Kate, who you can find on Instagram at I Want a Red Dress, IWANTAREDDRESS. And keep an eye out there for Kate's future publications and all kinds of other wonderful good news, which I hope to see much of in the future. Thanks again for being with us, Kate. Ah, wow. Yeah, this has been a roller coaster of a reading. We've had everything happen, everything not happen in the case of Skype's functionality, but it's all been here, and it's always a little tough to bring it to a close, but I know we're bringing it to a close on a good note. And I'm excited to do that by introducing W.V. Sutra, a performance anxiety returner par excellence. And Sutra's work explores themes of spirituality, psychedelia, alienation, nostalgia, and the spirit of place. He tries always to uphold the art of spoken poetry over the artifact of text, and we're glad he's about to do that here and now. Take it away, Sutra. Thanks for being with us.
Hi, everybody. Great to be with you all tonight. I live on a farm, so I saw to the needs of 4 horses, 2 cats, and a dog, and so I'm ready for a little poetry. In addition to psychedelia and spirit of place and all that, I also write a lot of poems about, the paradigm we all live under: capitalism, neoliberalism, war, all that kind of thing. And this is the first poem I ever had published about 2 years ago. Yeah, a little indignation will often get you a good poem. You see a public figure who's a shit or something like that, and you get quite a good poem out of it. But Derek Varn of Former People had mercy on me. He accepted my poem for publication, and that was very kind of him because I was very new to the game. So without further ado, if you ever hear any howling, by the way, that's my cat Dickie. He's a bit of a Philistine, but he's a good fellow. All right, this is called The Dead Sea. There was a man who feared the World War III, fair son of man, forlorn of the paraclete, born into deep moral poverty, who wanted to be as a fruitful tree, who wanted to flow as the good wine that Jesus made, which is the blood of heroes, but he feared being caught and killed, dreading camp death, though far from any camp that would service his kind. Utopia, utopia, abode of terror and death, could be just around the corner, say, at your local university, where theories of this or that hold sway. And he struggled in front of his mirror, unable to hide his feelings of fear, the competition taking its toll, politics being the science of the obvious, names standing in for names at daggers drawn. When the eye of the mind gives dire reflection, and its turgid and deflected thoughts yield panic actions, then fear plays the teacher, and the constant flow lacks outlet, professing nothing, while heaven and earth lie ready to hand promiscuously, but the Son of Man sees them not. Hello, old riverman, what say you today? The World War III you feared in youth was in full swing and continues still, complete with slaves and camps and torture and rape and mafia hegemony. Your big ideas look inward, so let fall your fine great airs, your sweat and your tears, your dendrite brain, recycled, redirected, channeled eternally to the lowest part of your soul. Thank you, thank you. I'm going to keep moving right along here. I'll try to maybe get 4 poems in. This one is about being in a cult. It appeared in Maudlin House about a year ago. It's called Going to Acapulco. Holding my fate in both my hands, waiting for captain, waiting for orders. Overboard I must and will be thrown. Oh, let me fly to my duties, Lord. Revenants of spirits vile, keep me company while on duty. I could show a happy face and be content with cigarettes, organize my life and times and gaze upon the sea with longing. A clarity is opening up my mind. Thanks be to God for handsome faces. That baked out trailer park was not my jail. Oh, I was well organized. A willing volunteer who said yes to the smiling young man who first tested me in an office on a street in San Francisco. New millennium, sure enough. The captain is well traveled. He has roamed the plains of Mars. He warned us of the dangers that the alien spirits pose to minds lost in obscurity, in minds tormented by madness. He vowed to free us all if we could just hold on with both our hands. And he mocked our sad neurotic state, our unworthy lack of clarity and counterpoise. El Dorado was a place of gold, but Captain says we go to Acapulco. You can see that heap of gold from outer space, so put the bitter end below in chains. Let me have my clarity as it was promised to me, an end to auditions and trials. I soon will see the light on the horizon. Thank you. Okay. I went to a high school reunion not too long ago, and I was happy to see the folks there. But I had to admit, I really hated that school. And I couldn't wait to be out of it, Why I keep going to those reunions, I don't know. But anyway, I got a poem out of it, and it's called The History of Our School. The history of our school is a history of love, of lovers lowered through the night on ropes through dormitory windows, swarming up drain pipes onto chaste dormitory landings, to their partners in misfortune and young grief, sometimes surprised, sometimes cast out. The history of our school reveals itself in necessary lies. Since the good of the school comes first, even when the fault is great, we make this a part of our life. For who would live without rules in a world that hangs on structure, where transgression and disaster are forever carved in stone, one and the same? The history of our school is about the naming of names, the playing of roles, the wearing of masks, the love in the sip of a drink, the scandal of teacher with student, the student dead in his room, the breaker of rules invited to leave, the slick deceiver doing all right, while student life runs on through the gamut and the gauntlet. Sing we joyful music at commencement time. Why did one work so grudgingly and with such bad grace? Let the gates be thrown aside for the student sufficiently polished to pass the bar of admission, to rise and fall in earnest. And I'll do one more. This poem is psychedelic. Yeah, this takes me back to the 60s. It's called The Jayhawk Plateau. This will be my last one. The deadly mixture of green and black bile swamped the poor ailing liver in dark humors, doing the damage, bringing fear and death. It was not for lack of meditation, nor of devil-may-caring, nor of gaiety and cult value, nor of pop notoriety. His friends remembered how he wandered the Midwestern prairie, how he sang, how he went naked, how the guys down at the Sunoco station cracked jokes when he used the payphone, calling home and the lover he missed, his clothes fitting badly always, the pants forever slipping down, old button-down shirts left over from his straight days. He later sported a garland of skull-shaped flowers, set off by a necklace of diamond teeth, and he could sing a song, now a dying art, to sing while dying, having had it all, to have had it all and still be dying, hey, like an old fool, like a singer, hey ho. The crowd of old friends he loved to join, yes, and his intimates to whom he listened, groveling in deep gossip, wishing things could be otherwise. And the press loved him. To him they were kind, it is said. He might speak of Dharma and drop a happy sutra, or share a bit of doggerel, careful to keep his clothes on in the studio, even when tripping bullets, speaking often of kindness in the depths of karma, hoping always for another party where he might unbutton, but with never a tattoo, never a piercing, never having lived to see the hated war, forgotten even by both sides now, in a frame of new necessities, Who can now be kind, and to what end? The sunny plateau rolls ever on, kissed by the feet of the questing fauna, grassland shimmering in the eyes of birds, now the domain of the banks and the manifest destiny of debt. The blood of violence has slaked these lands as we approach the thirsty suburbs of Wichita. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Sutra, for ending the reading with that beautiful character study, that beautiful meditation and time capsule. That was W.V. Sutra, who you can find on Twitter at W_V_Sutra, Sutra. Sutra has also placed pieces with a number of print and online journals. His website is closed for remodeling for the moment, but we'll be back, so keep in touch with him on the socials. And thank you again, everyone. We get to this point. We have heard from all of our brilliant readers, and all I have to say at this stage is just thank you so much to the readers for sharing their beautiful work with us this evening, and thank you to our record-breaking number of listeners. Basil's like, don't forget them. It's like, okay, I won't. For giving this hour and almost a half of their lives over to poetry. We really hope that if you're listening with a sheaf of new stuff close at hand, you might consider dropping us a line. Again, we're at PerformanceANXT on Twitter, or via email. You can get us at tomsnarski@gmail.com or poetrybooksontape@gmail.com. We'd love to have you share your work at a future event. We always do these third Thursdays, so we've got one coming up on June 15th, on July 20th, and we're going to have an extra special Ornithopter and Friends celebration on August 17th when Reclaimed Water, which is my next book, comes out. So I'm very excited about all this cool stuff that's going on. So we always close Performance Anxiety with a quick poem. So I'm just going to read you one from this book, A Big Yellow Book by Michel Houellebecq. This was translated by Delphine Grass and Timothy Matthews. So a poem by Houellebecq to close us out. I've always felt we were close, like blossoms on a tree. Dawn is breaking as I write you this. There's thunder rumbling somewhere. It'll rain later. I think of you sitting up in bed. The anguish you feel, I feel it too. We're abandoned by the night, shaped by the light, people again, very little people. Lying resigned on the carpet, I'm looking at the rising light. I can see hair on the carpet, it's not yours. A tiny bug struggles up the fabric. I nod off and wake with a start. I'd really like to close my eyes. I haven't slept in 3 days, and I haven't worked in 3 months. I'm thinking of you.